What is happening, everyone? Coach Ishak with HawkFit Coaching and Legion Athletics, and your host for today's episode of Anabolic Radio. I'm joined today by Doug Miller, who is a legend in the natural bodybuilding community for his career in competitive bodybuilding. And something that I personally respect is just seeing his transition from being a competitive bodybuilder to what is now not only a family man, but also a business owner. And we were chatting a little bit before I started the episode, and he is crushing it on all fronts. So we have quite a treat for you all today. Get your popcorn and make sure you listen up. How are you doing today, Doug?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
What are you sipping on right there?
That's the Red, White, and Boom. America Energy, of course. Freedom flavor. One of my favorites.
Amazing. Amazing. You just came out with this line of energy drinks for America Labs, no?
Yeah, it's a spin-off of America Labs. We actually launched it in 2018. It was doing really well, getting traction, and then COVID actually killed this. This was a business that got killed by the distribution chain during COVID. So we took the time to kind of like retool and not reformulate, but rebrand. So the packaging is a little different. And then we relaunched, I guess, about a year ago. So July 4th, 2021, we relaunched. So it's been out about a year now. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited to dive on to the business end once we get there. But for those who are unfamiliar with your background, why don't you go ahead and give them a little introduction?
Oh, well, it's like, how far back do you want to go? So, high school was always an athlete, but lacked the size to really go to the next level. I was recruited at some smaller schools. I swam, I played soccer, and I played baseball. But I never had the size. I was literally 130 pounds soaking wet when I graduated high school. So that really limited me. So I decided to pursue academics over athletics when I went to school. So I studied at Penn State's honors program. I studied biochemistry and molecular biology and economics. I had a double major. And I got really kind of wrapped up into the academic part of it, but I needed an outlet, right? Like I needed that physical outlet because I was used to training for sports all the time. So that's when my freshman year, a buddy on my hall got me into weightlifting, and I was kind of hooked. First 6 months, I gained 30 pounds because I was just eating boxes of cereal and tuna packets or tuna cans at the time. And I started to make a lot of gains. And I'm a very obsessive person, obsessive is such a negative term, but like when I get hooked onto something, when I leech onto something, I want to be the best I can be at that. And I really kind of dive in. So I did all my own research for many years. This was like right when the internet was starting. I mean, we're talking like 1998 here, right? Like this is like pre-internet, the bubble that burst in 2001, right? Like, so there wasn't much information out there. And so I just kind of got dug into natural bodybuilding. Did my first show in 2002 as a novice. I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. I did everything wrong because I was researching online. I didn't have a coach or anything. And so I literally did everything wrong. I cut sodium out like 8 weeks out. I drank wine backstage. I almost passed out. I was doing glycerol loading before. I tried to do every trick in the book. I won the novice, but, I messed up everything. I did like a 7-8 week prep. But I was like, hey, like, this is kind of cool. I won my first show. So then the next show I did, I won a pro card in an open class and kind of moved on to the pro ranks. And eventually in 2009, I won the Yorton Cup overall, the Pro World Championship. And then I came back in 2014 and did it again and won all my shows in 14. And that was the last year that I competed. I still train like a bodybuilder. I still live like a bodybuilder. I'll always be a bodybuilder, God willing, but my time for the stage is kind of, I just don't have the desire to compete. I have so many other things going on in my life, including my wife and 2 young boys, and then all the businesses and stuff. So that's really the bodybuilding side of things. On the other side of things, I worked in the corporate world for 12 or 13 years doing economic litigation consulting and started building fitness related businesses on the side. I had a coaching business. I opened one nutrition store. I had Core Nutritionals that I started in 2005 because I wasn't happy with the supplements on the market at the time, and wanted to do my own thing. And it was kind of just a hobby. And then as I became more successful in natural bodybuilding, that brand really kind of took off. And so I decided to go all in 2013, and kind of the rest is history from that. As soon as I did that, the brands really started to take off. We have 12 nutrition stores now. We have 3 different supplement brands, an energy drink brand, a gym, and just very blessed to be able to do what I love to do for a living. So yeah, it's been a pretty crazy ride.
Mm. Man, hearing your journey is just so inspiring, and definitely a double-edged sword when it comes to, that obsessiveness. I think a lot of people associate a negative connotation with it when it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing at times, but it's like having the ability to discern whether it's working to your benefit or not is really important. And for some of the audience listening, what is something that you learned in your journey of natural bodybuilding, competing with some of the most elite competitors and athletes in the ranks, going head to head with Brian Whitaker?
Um, you know, what have I learned? So I would get caught up sometimes in like who I'm competing against, and it's completely worthless. At the end of the day, you're really competing against yourself. You're always going to have certain limits. So probably about 5 years into my bodybuilding career, I kind of flipped that. I was always worried about who's the big guy I'm going to go against, or who am I going against, and I really just stopped worrying about that. And I really got a mindset that the only person that's going to beat me is myself, right? Like just mentally, right? Like bodybuilding is such a heady sport. You can get into your own head, and that's why even great bodybuilders need coaches, right, to kind of keep them level. So one of the things that I started doing later in my career is just really focusing on myself in terms of getting ready for the show. That kind of got rid of all the pressure for me, right? Because I was really I wanted to be better than I was last time. If I could beat who I was last time, if somebody shows up and they happen to be better, they're not going to outwork me. That's for sure. I wasn't going to let that happen. That's something I can control. But if some freak shows up, that is what it is. I can't do anything about that. So, I never had a problem. I guess the only person I've lost to twice in my career, that really my only losses that I can remember, are to Philip Ricardo. And that guy just had he had these freaky veins in his legs and glutes that just like his glutes and serratus were like just untouchable. And he just looked so freaky. So like, as long as I was better than I was the time previous that I competed is what I cared about. I couldn't worry about how shredded his glutes were. I just needed to worry about how shredded my glutes are. And so that's really what, I think that really helped me, in my later on in my career.
Mm. Man, I love your mindset. That's such a healthy mindset and outlook to have. I think, especially when you're first getting into the sport, that could be a very difficult thing to remain objective of, that, hey, you're running your own race. And expectation management is a big part of that. And unfortunately, due to social media and like the instant gratification fueled age we live in, people see, the stage shots on social media, people see, the pose downs, and they forget that, that person may have been doing that for years and years on end. And, it's important to not allow that comparison factor to really kick in as well.
Yeah.
So that's great, man. And it's cool to see that, you're showing respect to other athletes and competitors too. Philip Ricardo Jr., I know he still competes to this day, and I know you said you have a lot of things on your plate, but when things line up properly, give us the answer we all want to hear. Will there be a return of Doug Miller to the stage?
Man, I don't know. I get that all the time. And honestly, the longer that I'm away from the stage, the more that it probably won't happen. Let's just be honest with it, right? Like I really do love my life at the moment. Not saying I couldn't love my life, competing as well, but for me, I mean, maybe it would be cool because there'd be some cool social media content. Maybe it would help the businesses too, right? Because the nudes you post on social media, right? Like, but I competed in a world where there really wasn't that social media. I did it for myself, right? I wasn't doing it to get likes and follows and all of that now. And so now it is very commercialized in the sense of it's just like, how many followers do you have? How can you monetize it? And it's just like, for me, bodybuilding has been a huge part of my life, and it's helped me get where I am today. But like now, things are just shifted in such a completely different direction. Like I have, between all the different businesses, we have 50 some employees that I have to think about their livelihoods, right? My two boys who are 5 and 8 now and are super active, right? They take a lot of time. So because bodybuilding is such a selfish sport, like I would zone a lot of that out, and I just don't want to do that. I really enjoy. I go so tunnel vision, like I would probably be a little bit more flexible if I did it this time around, but like still, I really enjoy going out and eating whatever the heck I want. I eat like a bro 99% of the time, but like if I want to eat something, like shoot, I eat ice cream or something like that, right? Like I just don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to be on a schedule. I don't want to be like, if I miss taking my supplements, I don't want to live that life because I've seen the bad side of bodybuilding in clients that I've had, even trying to teach them flexibility and stuff like that. Like I've seen people lose jobs, lose relationships. Just I've seen some bad things in bodybuilding. So for all the good that has come from it for me, there's also some downsides. And I'm just not at a point where I have that desire to be on stage. There's something to say for going out on top. Not saying I was the best bodybuilder, but like my last season I competed, I won every pro show I did. I won an NPC overall. I don't need an IFBB pro card to prove anything to anybody. I don't need to do that to fill my ego. So like, there's something to be said to like know when to like hang up the trunks.
Mm,
So that's where I'm at right now in my head.
mm, mm. And for those of you who can't really relate or catch on to what Doug is saying, the sport of competitive bodybuilding is 24-hour around the clock work. You have to sleep enough. You have to get a sufficient quality of sleep. You have to make sure you're taking your supplements. You are hitting your macros. You're getting your training session in, and just crossing your T's and dotting your I's across all variables. And it's over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And Doug, before you hung the posing trunks up, it was right before when social media really started to pop. Do
Yep.
you feel like some of the exposure and popularity of social media really prevents people from realizing the true meaning of bodybuilding?
Well, sure. I mean, it's like why are people doing it? Are they doing it for literally just so that people, like I said, will like and follow them, right? Or are they doing it because they want to go through that journey and that suffering that like really makes you appreciate other things in life? It did for me, right? Like there is something about, I enjoy the pain that bodybuilding brought me, if that makes sense. Like I enjoy the suffering. I enjoy knowing that 99.9% of the people out there couldn't do what I am doing, right? Like for me, it was more a mental challenge than anything else, right? It was posing my 20 minutes every day. It was doing the cardio every day. It was like hitting the macros every day. And it's just like, how many people want to do that? There's not a lot of people that can really say they do that. And so it wasn't for the likes and the followers at all, right? And so now people want to compete just so that they can look shredded, post a couple pictures up, a certain time of the year, post it on their Instagram, get some followers and likes, whatever. That it was just different, a little bit different back then. And not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it's opened up opportunities for a lot of different people, right? I'm I'm not like anti-social media. I'm on social media a lot, but you know, I think you really have to ask yourself a question like, why are you competing? Like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it? I think it's a great, if you have things if you have all the things checked and like marked down in your life in terms of like you have a stable job, you communicate well in your relationships so that they understand what's going on. I feel like pushing yourself physically, I feel like everyone should do some type of physical challenge in their life that pushes them to like a point of mental breaking. I preach that to all of my employees. I'm like, there's something to be said for like trying to be the best you can be in something. I don't care what it is, but something physical and also something mental. So like being top of your class, or being an expert in the violin, or doing these expert things. One of those is bodybuilding. Like there's not a lot of people that can go through the physical challenges of being a great top end bodybuilder. So like I think there's a lot of positive that come out of it, but I just don't think a lot of people do it for that reason these days. I mean, that was kind of why I did it. So yeah, I mean, it's different these days because it's so easy to post your nudes up on Instagram, and the adrenaline you get, or the endorphins that flow when you see all those likes come in, right? Like that can be addicting, and it's probably not the right reason to want to diet.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's really important to recognize those internal drivers as to why you're competing, and it's just very important for achieving your own best self and your full potential, because on the days where shit gets hard, on your hard days when you're not feeling like training and when the diet sucks, I promise you, the driver of likes and follows will not be sufficient. So you really got to dig deep, and you got to figure out why you even want to go through a contest prep. Shit, it's self-selected starvation, right? You're going to be starving yourself. You're going to be suffering. It's inevitable. You can manage your approach to the best of your ability. However, at some point, shit's going to get tough, and you have to be prepared for those moments long before you even begin a contest prep. So maybe in your context, that entails getting a coach or finding someone who's more experienced. Or if you're willing to learn through experience, then just implement some protocols and learn yourself. Listen to, earlier in the podcast, if you had a chance to catch it, Doug said, "Hey, I did all my research, and my first prep I did everything wrong and XYZ." He learned through experience how to be his best self. He learned the nutrition protocols that work for him, the training protocols that work for him, how he enjoys training. And he even recognized some of the things that could prevent him from doing well in a contest prep. So I have a lot of respect for your mentality. It's such a healthy mentality, man. And of course, you would have not been able to obtain that without experience and, having the wrong mentality at times. And I wish I had been filming when I had asked this earlier, but you know, what was something that helped you make that transition from bodybuilder to now business owner? And I know you said, and I know we discussed that there's like, some negative things that occur as a result of a contest prep and or even extended dieting phase, but to your point, some of those things have helped you thrive into drilling those values and ideals into your team. And hey, we're about to hear if it made you a successful business owner.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the ability to endure pain goes a long way, right? And so, I mean, I got to a point where, shoot, I could literally like see my heartbeat in my glutes, right? Like there was periods of time where I wanted to die. Like I felt like I was dying. And I made it through, and I became better and stronger mentally, physically because of that. And so, business is a lot the same way. There's a lot of adversity. It's like getting an injury when you're 4 weeks out. What do? You train around it. You can't stop training, but you don't want to be stupid and train through it. That happens in business all the time. There's hiccups in business, right? Like there's little micro failures that you go through along the way that, at first when I was a young entrepreneur, like one little road bump would kind of like get in my head. I would, get caught up in that. I would freak out. I would be stressed about it. And now it's just like, that's part of being successful, is all of those road bumps. So it's like how you handle that adversity. I mean, shoot, we survived, we grew through COVID, right? Like, we talk about adversity, even our retail stores, like, we grew through COVID. And our brands, we got better. We did an entire rebrand for Core in 2020 and launched over 100 new products, right? So it was just like, it's taught me to persevere, and, it's kind of given me a little bit of perspective on stuff. So like, in this industry, there's crazy stuff that happens all the time. Like, somebody's trying to sue you over something stupid all the time. And now I just kind of roll with the punches. Oh, it is what it is, right? Like, it sucks. It's like, but you just handle it. You toughen up, you get better, you improve if you need to improve, and you move through it. And that's the type of perseverance that, is definitely needed in bodybuilding. And it definitely carries over. It's just kind of like my personality. It's about having grit. And that's what makes a good bodybuilder, and that's what makes a good entrepreneur.
So as you were building your brands, which is, well, is it one mother brand and then you have three under that big
No,
brand?
they all actually operate as separate LLCs, but Core was the first brand, and then that was 2005 is when we first launched our first product. America Labs launched its first product in 2017, Arms Race in 2019, America Energy in 2018, and the stores I started in like 2010, and we open new stores pretty much every year. So.
So as you made that transition and pivot in 2020, what were some changes that you had made on the business end outside of the rebrand and launching new products? Did you change your business models any way, like direct to
No, I
consumer?
think I just doubled down on our core values, right? Like, it was a period of time when, uh, yeah, I mean, I speak about it a lot on, we have a Boss Status podcast here. We've done a bunch of it's called Ask the Boss, Boss Status. We've done a bunch of these podcasts, and, what we did was basically, like I said, double down on our core values. And it wasn't, within the past few years, we've actually written them down and solidified them. We give out core challenge coins for people that are living these core values. And I think it's a great thing to do for anybody who is an entrepreneur. You can have your personal core values, but it really means something when you write them down and you live them out. And so it was a very long thought out process. And I'm big in certain business books. Like, I love reading certain business books. I love the author Jim Collins, and he's got a book called Good to Great, which is basically like our secular Bible here at our businesses. It's a soup to nuts of what are the principles you need to apply to go from good to great. And so I highly recommend anybody read that. But one of the things he talks about is core values, and it's not many people do it. It's kind of funny. And so in 2020, I feel like when the world was being pulled apart, right, we doubled down and really solidified, okay, what are our core values? What's important to us? And core values don't have to be like, there's a lot of great values out there, or virtues out there, that are not our core values, right? And so we had to actually weed out. We had a master list of these things, and we're like, like, that's an important and a great virtue to have, but that's not something that really is important to us at this stage. What are those main things? Like, how do people succeed here? We wanted to come up with a list of, like, people, like, if somebody's living these 12 core values, then they're going to be very successful here. And so we have this list, and we've really doubled down on that, and that helped us transition through COVID, and it helped us come out on the other end even stronger. And, like, I think our infrastructure and what we can accomplish with the team that we have, we kind of joke here quite a bit. Like people think that we have like 100 plus employees around, at the headquarters. Like, no, I was like, we just have very capable people that are living the core values. And so I think that really helped our transition out of COVID and helped us be successful. It helps us to continue to be successful.
Would you mind sharing your core values with us?
I won't share them all. I'm going to give a plug. If you watch our first episode of Boss Status, there's 12 of them. I can give you a couple of them just to give you an idea. So obviously, crush it is our trademark slogan, right? So Crush It is about living the Crush It lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have to be a bodybuilder, but it means in whatever you're doing at that time, you're not doing it half-ass, you're going all in, right? The second one, the first two are kind of like very more lofty. Some of them, other of them are very practical. Our second one is CODG. CODG stands for Can't Outdream God. So it basically means kind of dream big, have big ideas, you know. And the flip side of that is our other one, our other uh, um, core value we have is take risks, right? But these are calculated risks. We have ones that are like take ownership, but that means what that really means is figure it out, right? A lot of people here don't know how to do certain things when they get here, and I don't even know how to do the things. If they ask me, I'll say I don't know. My number one, like, if I'm recruiting somebody, the number one thing that I look for, besides attention to detail and kind of a little bit of OCD, which is important, is the ability to figure something out when you don't know how to do something. And so that is, go to YouTube, just YouTube it, just Google it, right? Like you can figure out just about anything these days if you are driven to do that. And some people get just completely paralyzed when they run into a task or are asked to do something that they don't know how to do, right? Like, how do you change a tire? I don't know. YouTube it, figure it out, right? How do you do X, Y, and Z? Figure it out. And so, like, figuring it out is, you know, one of ours. There's a lot. They all have these different things. Another one is collect the gold dust, right? This one's a little bit more practical, and that is, no matter how successful we come, no matter how big our bottom line is, we always need to collect the gold dust. That basically means don't be frivolous, right? So, like, if, you know, like our stores, like sometimes we'll go off, and if they run out of bottled water to sell in our store, right? Don't go down to the 7-Eleven and buy bottled waters for 50 cents. You got to go to Costco and buy the waters for 10 cents, right? And if you do this, if you collect all the little gold dust, which is little specks of dust, you have big ingots of gold, right? And so they're worth a lot. So if you're constantly just letting that gold dust slip away, and this doesn't mean to be cheap, or, you know, it just doesn't mean, it means just don't be frivolous and don't be stupid in how you spend the company's money, right? And so, like, that's a very practical thing that we've always lived out. Like, I'll preach that from day one, is just like, small businesses fail because they don't know where their money's going. So those are just a couple of the ones that are offhand that are a couple of the 12 that we have. But yeah, you can hear all about that. We've done a whole hour plus long podcast on all of them. So they all have a pretty long backstory to them, and kind of why they shaped. Those were the core values that got molded into our company.
Go check out his podcast. What is it called? Boss Status?
Boss Status.
Boss Status. And if you're interested, listen to those core values. I didn't know you were a Stoic too, man. But man, that's awesome. It's good to hear that you also drill those values into your company, into your teams. You seem like a very creative person. So outside of what you're currently doing, have you ever thought about any brands or ideas outside of the fitness industry?
All the time. I mean, like, all the time. In terms of just business, I love the idea of business and entrepreneurs, and the ability for somebody to take an idea and run with it. So, like, I don't want to say mentor, but I really enjoy helping people that have a business idea. I don't charge them for it. I don't do like a mentorship group where you have to pay me thousands of dollars to come get my advice, because I sure as heck don't know all the answers. But I can at least give you, like, my perspective on what I think might be helpful. I love the idea. I was talking to a young kid the other day who wants to start a watch business, right? Like a flipping expensive watches. So that I had some ideas for him, you know, like a good friend of mine who wanted to quit his job and go all in on personal training business and how to do that, and so forth and so on. So, like, we have all these ideas. Like, we own quite a bit of retail space land in this area in Statesville, and we talk about, we want to own a gun shop. So maybe one day we'll have a gun shop. Maybe one day we'll have a physical therapy place because we all like to have, active release therapy, massage, and PRP, and anything else to help with, like recovery, right? So there's constant ideas. But I mean, to be honest with you, most of my thought is in the supplement space at the moment. I mean, across 3 brands, we have over 200 SKUs, and it's not just these days, it's not just about formulating great products, which we do. That's just a bare minimum, right? It's like, how do you tell your brand stories? How do you connect with your consumer, right? Like, why do people want to buy your product when there's a ton of other good products out there, right? So a lot of the creative thought goes into that, right? Thinking about that, thinking about how to do some type of collab or something, some type of new looking branding and some new packaging ideas, some new labeling ideas, little things. So it's a constant. I mean, that's why I love what I do, because like no day is the same at all. Like I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow, right? Like I have things on my calendar that I have to do, but most of the time it's kind of swatting flies. But I love it because it's just like, it's just constant brainstorming of, new ideas. And so that's where my creative juices go, really.
That's awesome, man. You have your hands in a lot of different things, and again, that's super inspiring. And it's good to see that like you practice what you preach and you lived it in bodybuilding, and now it's like you're translating it over into the real world. You're impacting other people, and it's sort of like you're paying it forward for, some of the things you learned through bodybuilding. And I think it's just like, there's the gym is a metaphor for life, and if you really believe in yourself and you really formulate a plan and you're passionate about something, then you could potentially, build something great out of it. So I think that's super inspiring. And I remember in might have been like 2020, I saw some things on your stories, and you were crypto mining or something. So I'd love to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, I'm a partner. I had 2 other partners. We just bought out our 3rd partner. So it's just me and one other guy. We have Crypto Bros Farm is the name of our crypto mining business. So we have probably about 100 GPUs running in an undisclosed location that is mining crypto. We were mining Ethereum at the moment. So, we're still in it. Obviously crypto, Ethereum went to, it went to 4,000, then it went to 900. Now it's at like 1,700. The algorithms get difficult. They're going to change certain things on the network, and it's just another thing, right? Like, I am not an expert in cryptocurrency, but I love the idea of the business behind it, and what you can do with cryptocurrency. So that's why I kind of got into that. And yeah, I mean, we're still kicking. We're still investing. We're still expanding it. I mean, now is a good time because GPU prices are probably half of what they used to be, about a year or so ago. So we're using this time to kind of double down on it and continue to grow our, mining operation.
So I'm a complete dummy when it comes to crypto. So would you mind sharing with me why it's so valuable?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, this could be a whole other podcast. I mean, cryptocurrencies are like a secure way to verify certain transactions and to exchange money. And there's all sorts of other technologies that roll into cryptocurrencies. So like some are just kind of like fake news. They're kind of shit coins, not Bitcoins, right? But some of them have real technology behind them that big business is starting to get behind. So that's why I like things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and some of these other bigger ones will do well, and some of the other kind of scam coins will just kind of fall off. Everyone tried to jump on it. And at the end of the day, what mining is just you're using computer processing power, which is what GPUs are, graphic processing units, to basically think about them as you're using their processing power to solve very complicated math equations that verify a transaction on a ledger, right? So, and to do that, you're basically securing the blockchain, and you're being rewarded by solving those math equations, basically solidify something on the blockchain, and then you're rewarded in Ethereum or whatever other, coin you're mining or you're verifying, you're kind of rewarded for doing that. And that's what mining is just you're using computers set up to solve complicated equations, and then you're compensated for doing that. And that's why it's like they call it a decentralized currency, because it's not a central bank that regulates it. It's all the miners out there. It's the millions of miners across the world. There's no one central like bank that that like runs the whole thing, right? It's you need to have those miners verifying on the blockchain. So it's very complicated. I don't claim to be an expert in any sense of that. I don't have time to be. We pay consultants to do some of the physical building for us, because you have to build these large processing things and stuff like that. Both myself and my partner are more kind of the money behind it and the kind of the brains behind it. But we have some nerd on the back end who's doing like the real work, I should say. So yeah, it's cool. It's just something else. They say don't put anything into cryptocurrency that you're not willing to lose. So like that's the way I tell people to invest in cryptocurrency. Is it's still a risk, but I think there could be some huge rewards down the line.
Absolutely. So I think something that has been translated to me since we started this conversation is you have many different passions. It's not just one. And not only that, you're not scared to try things, and you don't set limits on what you feel like you're capable of achieving. So what do you think is something that has allowed you to have that realization and follow through with it in your life?
Have what realization? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like not to set limits on what you're capable of achieving.
I mean, shoot, I was 130 pounds when I started bodybuilding. I ended up being world champion. Like I didn't have the best. People say I have great genetics. I think I have good genetics. I don't have great genetics. There's guys out there with way better genetics than me. And in 15 years of training, I was like, that was obsessive training. They say it takes 10,000 hours of perfect practice to become an expert at something. Like that was at least 10,000 hours of, training, right? Like, so it's just like, it's just, I was able to basically become an expert in something that I had no business becoming an expert in. So if I can win the world championship in natural bodybuilding, why can't I do X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of surreal. I remember being 20 years old and reading the muscular developments and reading about all these famous bodybuilders, and now they're, some of them are my people. Like I'll text with Jay Cutler, who's, a peer now, who also has a supplement business, and, he manufactures his products right next door, just like I do. Right. Like, and, just from where I started to where we are now, it's just been a cool journey. And so like, if I can do that, why can't I do X, Y, and Z? Right. Like, and so like, I don't want to put limits on anything. I remember when it would, like starting out, core, like it's not about, I love the growth aspect. I am a numbers guy. I love seeing the growth, but it's not about the money. It's about literally the growth itself, right? The money will come with it if you're passionate and you work hard, and the top line is growing. Like if you run a good business, the bottom line will grow too. But it's not about the money. After a certain point, like I don't need a yacht and 4 Lambos, right? Like it's about the progress, and it's about seeing that, and it's about the people that I get to share that with. So it's just like, it's been a crazy journey. And so, I was able to do it in bodybuilding. Why couldn't I do it in business or cryptocurrency or whatever, right? Like if you have the ability to figure things out, if you surround yourself with the right people, like it's so cliched, and I don't mean to be like that motivational guy on here, but you really can accomplish a lot, because, I've accomplished things that I really shouldn't have been able to accomplish.
There's no such thing as motivation. It's about being disciplined in this bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
It's very true. That's why I said I'm not trying to be one of those motivational speakers, because if you work out of motivation, right, like a lot of times, you might not be motivated. So like, what about those days where you're not feeling it, right? Like those are the days that are most important, where you just need to be disciplined, right? And for me, that's an internal drive that I'm lucky to have. That's like, I would say that's a good genetic trait that I have, is that internal discipline.
Mm,
It's not necessarily my, structure or whatever.
mm, mm. Man, and it's so funny because like you have a stack of dishes and you're not motivated to wash the dishes. What are you gonna go do? Watch a motivational video on how to wash dishes? So like it boils down to discipline. I also feel like it also takes one's ability to be self-aware enough to actually call themselves out on their bullshit and just recognize the areas they're falling short for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accountability.
I have a lot of people around me to keep me accountable. That's for sure.
Mm. Environment is everything. Not only the
Yes.
people around you, but the shit you watch, the things you listen to, how you speak to yourself. All these things are very important.
Hmm.
And man, I want to thank you for your time and
Sure.
coming on the podcast. I genuinely appreciate it. If people are unfamiliar with Doug, please go give him a follow on social. And do you have anything you want to leave the audience with? Any upcoming projects or new products?
Bro, there's always upcoming new projects and new products. So yeah, I mean, just follow me. I'm probably most active on Instagram. Doug Miller Pro at on Instagram is where you can find me. Message me, send me a DM, or email me, Doug at corenutritionals.com, and I get back to everyone.
Amazing. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and if you enjoyed the episode, take a screenshot, plug it on your stories, let us know you enjoyed it. Peace and love, team. Thank you for tuning in.